The first introduction I had to Theodore Roethke was actually in high school, and the English teacher I had tried to get us into Theodore Roethke by the fact that his notorious reputation for drinking and partying, etc., which didn't do much for us as students. We were sort of mediocre. It was a class of mediocre English students who were more interested in all the other things high school students are interested than poetry. Of course, this was in the early 70s. I didn't, when I finally became really acquainted with Roethke in a biographical sense, and also with some of his work, was when I was in college. And at that time I myself had started writing poetry, and although I bought a copy of the collected works of Roethke, I resisted reading them, primarily because I'd heard so much about him. And if you're from Saginaw and you write poetry, Roethke's shadow looms over you like some great behemoth. And so I very consciously stayed away from reading his work. And I was writing a few things myself, publishing in the Eastern Michigan University magazine, which was just down the road from where Roethke himself had gone to school for a time. And finally, on one very, very hot July day, I finally took the book down from the shelf. It was this very book here, and began reading. And the more I read of it, the more I liked. And I became fascinated with it, and grudgingly loved it. And finally, the one poem that made the fundamental connection was The Lost Son. And the only way I could describe it would be it was as though I'd been shot through the skull with a bullet. So I'll just read some of it. Part 1, The Flight. At Woodlawn I heard the dead cry. I was lulled by the slamming of iron, a slow drip over stones, toads brooding in wells. All the leaves stuck out their tongues. I shook the softening chalk of my bones, saying, "Snail, snail, glister me forward. Bird, soft sigh me home. Worm, be with me. This is my hard time." You know, the beginning of the next stanza is, "Where do the roots go? Look down under the leaves." He's going down, he's digging down within himself, but also digging into the earth, something bigger than himself.
Roethke was thin when he attended Arthur Hill High School, where he was president of the Student Senate in his senior year. With his friend Buzz Morley, he learned to play tennis. The boys shared an ongoing interest in jazz as well. Ted grew to be more than 6 feet tall and to weigh more than 200 pounds. He went on to coach tennis at Lafayette College in Pennsylvania, his first job as a teacher when he was 23 years old. When he was 28, he moved to Pennsylvania State College and coached the tennis team there as well.
The dirt left my hand, visitor. I could feel the mare's nose. A path went walking. The sun glittered on a small rapids. Some morning thing came, beating its wings, a great elm filled with birds. Listen, love, the fat lark sang in the field. I touched the ground warmed by the killdeer. The salt laughed in the stones. The ferns had their ways, and the pulsing lizards, and the new plants still awkward in their soil. The lovely diminutives. I could watch I could watch. I saw the separateness of all things. My heart lifted up with the great grasses. The weeds believed me, and the nesting birds. There were clouds making a rout of shapes crossing a windbreak of cedars, and a bee shaking drops from a rain-soaked honeysuckle. The worms were delighted as wrens, and I walked through the light air. I moved with the morning.
In the fall of 1945, while working at Bennington College in Vermont, Roethke became increasingly anxious and excited. While waiting to hear whether his application for a Guggenheim Fellowship would be approved, he continued teaching and occasionally showed poems of his to Kenneth Burke, a literary critic and fellow teacher for whom Roethke held a deep respect. One time, Burke congratulated him on his writing, saying, "Boy, you've hit it." Roethke knew it too. He got so excited he couldn't teach very well.